All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Dion's Daily Dose. I'm your host, Dion, and this is my buddy, Shawn.
Thanks for having me.
As always, good to see you. So today, what we're going to look at is there was this hearing that was, like 2.5 hours long, give or take?
Yep.
I think, where the House...
The House Oversight Committee.
House Oversight
but
Committee.
But it's the DOGE Subcommittee.
Okay. So they had a hearing where they were looking at NPR and PBS and these other basically publicly funded, for lack of a better term, news networks, right? But they're publicly funded networks that are supposed to represent unbiased information.
Uh-huh.
And in many cases, we're seeing that that's gone way off the rails. NPR, CBS, these places they're not the unbiased news that they used to be. I remember, like, as a kid, man, my grandfather would always have NPR on the radio when we were, taking any kind of long drive. And it was fairly informative. As a kid, I didn't know or care what they were talking about. But my grandfather was a very opinionated man. And had it not been fairly nonpartisan, I guess, he would have had a lot to say about it. He didn't. So I can only assume. That said, in this hearing, there are some very interesting revelations, I think, that come up. So we're going to jump in and play these clips for you. Sometimes if you guys are not familiar, we'll interrupt to give an analysis or a breakdown on what we heard. Because sometimes these hearings can be a little, I hesitate to use the word highbrow, but they use a bunch of really big words, sometimes legalese, that the regular people can be like, huh? I have no idea what they just said, but okay. Whereas people who have an extended vocabulary know what's going on, but in most cases, the average American generally doesn't follow along with these. Not just because of the words, because of the length, because of our schedules, having to work all the time to keep food on the table. So we're going to try to compact this as much as we can. All right, let's jump in. Our first clip here is... Oh, it would help if I would put the screen on there. There we go. So our first clip here is from the infamous MTG. Very well known.
She's the chair.
She's the chair of the DOGE Subcommittee, which, I mean, that's a meme in and of itself. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. You can feel however you want about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I will say that I have heard that she at least responds to her constituents.
Yeah.
So that's better than the vast majority of these POSs that hold these positions.
Better than ours.
Much better than ours.
Our band never answered that.
No. All right, here we go.
Good morning. At the DOGE Subcommittee, we are continuing our war on waste. That means rooting out spending that is unnecessary, wasteful, and frankly, un-American. Today, we are looking at the more than $500 million federal taxpayers spend annually to fund public radio and television. A big
$500 million every year we pay for this stuff. So yeah, we should know about it. We should absolutely know more about where that money's going.
Chunk of this subsidy flows to National Public Radio and Public Broadcasting Service. NPR and PBS are the big DC-based entities that create and distribute much of the news and educational content heard and seen on public radio and TV stations across the country. When Congress adopted the Public Broadcasting Act of 1967, it did so because it thought at the time that federal dollars were needed to provide objective news and education content to the entire nation, including rural residents who lived off the grid. Fast forward a few decades, and a lot has changed. The invention of the internet, for instance, and social media. It's made news and information widely available to those living in remote areas.
I agree with that.
Americans are increasingly consuming digital media and podcasts. The audience of public radio and television is declining.
Yeah.
And I know this because I represent a rural district where farmers listen to podcasts and internet-based news while they drive their tractors.
Yep.
At the same time, NPR and PBS have increasingly become radical left-wing echo chambers for a narrow audience of mostly wealthy, white, urban liberals and progressives who generally look down on and judge rural America. PBS News is not just left-leaning, but it is actively uses taxpayer funds to push some of the most radical left positions, like featuring a drag queen on the show Let's Learn, a show targeted toward young children ages 3 to 8 years old. I want you to know I grew up watching children's programming on PBS.
Yeah.
And as a mother who raised 3 children, I felt confident that I could leave the room while my own children were watching children's programming on PBS.
So I want to interrupt really briefly here because I think it's important. So for those of you not familiar with the area that we live in Northwest Indiana, Michigan City specifically. Outside of Michigan City, in between Michigan City and the Pines, Porter County, there used to be a bar called Helen's, I think. It was a gay bar, right? And they had drag shows. And when I was in my 20s, I went with a friend of mine and a few other people, and I saw a drag show, and it was interesting, right?
I bet that was.
But you know what? It was entertaining because we were adults.
Yeah.
We're adults. You want to go enjoy a drag show? Knock yourself out. It was different, right? Not for kids. These shows are not for fucking kids. They're not. And anyone who says they are, really, people need to take a look at your hard drive. I'm just saying.
They need to get their head examined.
They really do. And mental illness has become such a prominent factor in so many things. Kids are too little to think about things like a man dressing as a woman and pretending to be. Stop it. Just stop it.
But I can tell you right now, Ms. Kruger, specifically, as a mother, if I had walked in my living room or one of my children's bedrooms and seen this child predator and this monster targeting my children, I would become unglued. And that is how most parents feel all over this country. This is not the only example of them sexualizing and grooming children. They've been doing it for over the last decade. In 2015, PBS produced Frontline put out a documentary, Growing Up Trans, that takes viewers on an intimate and eye-opening journey inside the struggles and choices facing transgender kids and their families. This means that PBS is one of the founders of the trans child abuse industry, all while taking taxpayer money. Brainwashing and transing children is an issue so hated by parents across the country that it was a driving force in the landslide Republican and Trump victory in the 2024 election cycle and presidential race.
And I'm going to say this, guys, if you have friends that are anti-Trump or Democrat or whatever the term nowadays is for someone who froths at the mouth at the mention of Donald Trump, they've learned nothing.
No, they really have.
They really have learned absolutely nothing from this latest election. Zero.
Because they're doubling down.
They're doubling down. Absolutely. On the same policies that were rejected by voters, the same embracing of boys and girls sports and all this other shit. They've learned nothing. Absolutely nothing. I see the comments on Facebook from people who I used to be really good friends with who lost their entire fucking minds over this. And it's like, you didn't learn a damn thing.
They need to start listening to people like Fetterman and other people like that. Because
Yeah.
Fetterman sees it.
There are voices of reason in the Democrat Party.
Uh-huh.
They're few and far between, but they exist. If you're unwilling to listen to someone because they, quote, are conservative or are Republican, then listen to your Democrat friends who are telling you, look, man, this is, we need to reconnect here because we're losing them. Losing them.
The news that these entities produced is either resented or increasingly tuned out and turned off by most of the hardworking Americans who are forced to pay for it.
Yeah.
They no longer view NPR and PBS as trusted news sources. As a matter of fact, with these people, they're a threat. In fact, when Elon Musk put his hand over his heart and extended it and told the American people his heart goes out to them, PBS News posted the clip, called it a fascist Nazi salute, and described how it was similar to the same Heil used by Nazis at their victory rallies. Not once did PBS or NPR report on the numerous accounts of Democrats making the same gesture.
Yeah.
AOC, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, Elizabeth Warren,
Tim Walz.
Somebody that lost a presidential race, Hillary Clinton, Governor Tim Walz. Why wasn't this treated exactly the same way?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there not a standard in journalism today? Apparently not.
Nope. Okay. We're going to jump ahead to Rep Lynch. I'm actually glad I let it play a couple more minutes because that's the entire point. Look, nobody expects them to not report when Elon can do, Elon does some controversial shit, right? It's just who he is. And is there a cause for concern when a gesture like that is made? Some people say yes, but those people were absolutely silent when all the people on that board did the exact same gesture. And it's the double standard. So we're going to the 1029 mark. And this is Representative Lynch.
From Massachusetts.
Here we go.
The Democrat side.
Madam Chair, for over 2 decades of service on this oversight committee, I've worked with members on both sides of the aisle to investigate issues of critical importance to the safety and security of the American people, including the conduct of wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, terrorist attacks against the U.S. compound classified annex in Benghazi, and several major intelligence and security breaches under Democratic and Republican administrations. So I'm sad to see that this once proud committee, the principal investigative committee in the House of Representatives, has now stooped to the lowest levels of partisanship and political theater to hold a hearing to go after the likes of Elmo and Cookie Monster and Arthur the Aardvark, all for the unforgivable sin of teaching the alphabet to low-income families' children. And
see, this is what they do. This is the playbook. They downplay your concerns, my concerns, and make it seem like, oh, you just don't like Groucho. You just don't like Big Bird. Instead of actually dealing with the well-documented examples of partisan hack reporting on these networks.
Yeah.
Providing accessible local news and programming. This hearing also comes at the direction of President Trump and Elon Musk, who have repeatedly called for the defunding of all public media and claimed that media organizations such as PBS and NPR are, and I quote, a liberal disinformation machine, close quote. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is engaged in an actual disinformation campaign to minimize the catastrophic national security breach that was revealed earlier this week.
They're still
as
on
reported
that.
By Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg. Mr. Goldberg was inadvertently added to a group chat on an unauthorized, non-secure, publicly available message app in which Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth disclosed, quote, operational details of forthcoming strikes on Yemen. including information about targets, weapons systems, and other actions the U.S. would be taking, and also attack sequencing. I want to remind my colleagues in Congress that federal law makes it a crime when a person, through gross negligence, removes information relating to national defense from its proper place of custody or delivered to anyone in violation of this trust, or to be lost, stolen, or abstracted or destroyed. And what's more, if evidence shows that any of the parties who were in on that signal chat lied under oath in the Senate yesterday, Mr. Ratcliffe or Ms. Gabbard, for instance, then certainly conspiracy to conceal that breach would be far worse, where center.
Can this guy read? Like, anyway, that aside, right? I noticed that the Democrats didn't have a damn thing to say about Fauci lying to Congress. I just want to point that out, right? And the right is just as guilty of this shit as the left, right? However, when Fauci was dropping lie after lie and denying the emails and denying this, the Democrats didn't have a problem with it. Nobody said a word about, Dr. Death. But with this whole signal thing, oh my God, man. Oh, you would think that someone transmitted like plans 10 minutes in advance with a direct countdown and deadline to the enemy, the way that they're going off about this. Holy crap, man. Let it go, bro. Let it go.
Or criminal intent is in evidence and would be more likely to invite culpability and possible criminal liability.
So again, we can see what this is going to be about for the Democrats.
The Secretary of Defense would be subject to criminal prosecution, and it would be the responsibility of the U.S. Attorney General to prosecute that, but where a conflict exists, it might require a special prosecutor. This security breach severely compromised the safety of American troops in advance of imminent U.S. operations and airstrikes against Houthi rebel positions. It is well documented that the Houthi arsenal includes anti-aircraft capability, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, rockets, and unmanned aerial attack drones. Mr. Goldberg.
Okay, we're almost done with this guy, but I just want to point out that, look, do the Houthis have some armaments? Absolutely. But the reality is that the Houthis don't possess anything that can take out an F-35. They just do not. The radar cross section of an F-35 is equivalent to a bumblebee. They don't have anything that can even detect the F-35s, much less target and destroy them. So pretending like this was some sort of end of the world national security threat is ridiculous. However, I am all about full investigation of what happened and bringing anyone who broke the law to account. I don't care which party, I don't care who it was. If they broke the law, if they did something they shouldn't have, let's have accountability.
There definitely needs to be an investigation.
Absolutely.
How Goldberg became
added to this chat. Absolutely. It needs to be. But we're here for this, dude. We're here for this. This has nothing to do with the other. Stop it. Focus on. He's not even. To him, we're going after Big Bird. Because we're mad Big Bird teaches kids to spell. That's what he said. Give me a break with this shit. And then spent the rest of the time talking about something completely unrelated.
Who was unwittingly elevated to the clearance level afforded to members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was also joined in the exposed group chat by Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and other senior members of President Trump's national security team. This committee should be questioning every single one of them as to why they were using an unapproved, unsecure messaging app to conduct sensitive classified.
See, again, he lied. It is approved and it is secure. The fucking CIA uses it. It's like a, what do they call it? Agency standard.
Yeah.
Where they go, install this and use this. This is the type of gaslighting bullshit that politicians on both sides of the aisle have been doing for years.
Discussions about military operations in which our sons and daughters in uniform are being sent into battle.
Okay. All right. We're going to jump ahead a couple of minutes and get to we can see where the Democrats' focus is going to be. It's unsurprising. Why I would think that any of these people would take this seriously, I don't know.
I am pleased to introduce our witnesses today. Paula Kerger is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Public Broadcasting Service, also known as PBS.
Yep. All right.
Catherine Marr is the President and Chief Executive Officer of National Public Radio, also known as NPR.
Okay.
Mike Gonzalez is the Angelus T. Arredondo E. Pluribus Unum Senior Fellow at the Heritage Foundation.
Okay, MTG, come on, unum, not unum, like E. Pluribus Unum. That's how you say it. You're in the fucking United States Congresswoman. Learn how to say things that are tied to our country at minimum. Like that upsets me a little bit, as you can see.
Ed Ullman is the President and CEO of Alaska Public Media. Again, I want to thank you all for being here to testify today. Pursuant to Committee Rule 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record show that the witnesses answered in the affirmative. Thank you. You may take a seat.
All right. We're going to jump ahead to Catherine Mayer, which is
the CEO of NPR.
Okay. There we go.
As they work to Americans.
All right, here we go.
Americans listen to public radio as they commute, as they work, and in the kitchen as they cook with family. Nearly 100% of Americans live within range of a public radio station. We cover what matters to local communities, crop prices, cook-offs, and local sports teams, alongside news of the nation and the world, from the halls of Congress to coverage of our troops overseas. Today, Americans have more media choices than ever. The rise of podcasting has established a competitive free market for audio news and information. And every day, I am honored to know that we have 43 million listeners from every state in the nation. Amidst this competition, local stations choose to become members of NPR for the value we provide. For example, we are the only non-paywalled news outlet with a dedicated reporter covering veterans issues. While NPR is only 25% of station programming on average, audiences for NPR bring the scale and revenue that subsidize essential local programming. Local public media journalism has never been more important to American families who consider it part of the fabric of their communities. It correlates with higher rates of civic engagement, greater civic cohesion, and economic advantages, such as better municipal bond ratings. Recent independent polling found that more than 60% of all Americans and more than half of Republicans trust public broadcasting to deliver fact-based news. I understand the subcommittee has questions about funding for NPR and public radio. The vast majority of federal dollars, more than $100 million of the $121 million annual appropriation for public radio, goes directly to 386 local, non-commercial stations across the nation. This highly efficient investment enables your local stations to raise an average of $7 for every federal dollar. As a grantee of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, NPR received federal funding of $11.2 million last year. These funds allow us to maintain the National Public Radio satellite system, helping safeguard our national security, civil defense, and disaster response, and enabling public radio to reach every corner of America. Additionally, these funds help protect journalists covering our troops overseas and reverse the decline of local journalism. As a recipient of federal funds, it is our responsibility to answer legitimate questions about why public funds should go to NPR, whether we are truly committed to serving all Americans, and whether the institution is an effective steward of taxpayer dollars. I hear, respect, and understand your concerns regarding bias and whether public media is relevant in a commercial landscape, and I'd like to spend a minute sharing with you my actions to address your concerns. First, it is critical for NPR's newsroom to operate with the highest journalistic standards. That means that they do their jobs independently, and as CEO, I have no editorial role at NPR. In other words, I do not decide what we cover or how we cover it. I lead NPR's strategy, ensuring we have resources and policies in place to serve all Americans, not just those with a specific point of view. I was brought into NPR to revive and reorient the organization and bring public media to a wider audience, a new generation, and new platforms.
Do you know when she was
2
made
years
CEO?
ago.
It's only been 2 years. Okay.
We have a responsibility to serve Americans across the full political spectrum in a trustworthy, nonpartisan fashion. It is essential that we deliver on this commitment, and we have work to do, and we are doing it. In May, we launched an initiative to improve our editorial review processes to make sure all pieces are fair and comprehensive. We hired new editors and analysts to ensure we're giving fair airtime to different voices and issues. We started regular meetings with our nearly 200 local newsrooms so we can plan together for the needs of their audiences. And the early results are positive. Our digital platforms, where we have the best data about our listeners, the political beliefs of our visitors mirror the makeup of the country across the ideological spectrum. And we're seeing growth in readers and listeners. I joined NPR because I believe that our strong and dynamic nation deserves great public media for all. Americans are smart and curious, and they want us to cover issues that matter, from the price of eggs to national security. It's our job to deliver truthful facts and information so citizens can make up their own minds.
Okay. Sure sounds good, what she's saying. So we'll just leave it at that for now. And we're going to go to Paula Kerger, which is PBS, right? Yep. Okay. So that is 2345.
Her opening statement.
All right, here we go.
Chair Taylor Greene, Congressman Lynch, and members of the subcommittee. My name is Paula Kerger, and I'm the president and CEO of PBS, a role that I've held for 19 years.
Okay.
It is my honor to be here on behalf of the 336 PBS stations who serve every community in the United States. There's nothing more American than PBS. As a membership organization, our local service is at the heart of our work. Our job at PBS is to support our stations so that local stations can serve their communities. We've been proudly fulfilling our mission for nearly 60 years using the public airwaves and other technologies to help educate, engage, and inspire the American people. That mission is our guide star and remains just as important today as when the Public Broadcasting Act was signed into law in 1967. PBS stations provide something that cannot be found on commercial networks. This is because PBS stations are focused on the needs and interests of the viewers they serve. Especially in rural areas, PBS stations are the only outlet providing coverage of local events. For example, high school sports, local history and culture content, candidate debates at every level of the election ballot, and specialized agricultural news.
Would you agree with that?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. I'm of the opinion I don't want to see NPR or PBS gone.
No, I don't either.
I just want them neutral again. That's what
I'm hoping.
That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah.
Local stations also partner with other community organizations to address issues of concern like Veterans Affairs and the opioid crisis. Finally, communities depend on the essential public safety information and emergency alerts our local stations provide. Our programming comes from our local stations. For example, Southern Storytellers was produced by Arkansas PBS for our national audience. This program highlighted Southern culture through its literature, music, and film. Across the country, nearly 4 million people watch Southern Storytellers, helping Americans learn about our shared history and what brings us together as a people and a nation. Our stations pool resources to invest in programming that will benefit all Americans, ranging from history and science to art and music. For example, Firing Line with Margaret Hoover creates a forum for people with a wide range of views to respectfully share ideas. While programs like Independent Lenses, Matter of Mind, My Alzheimer's explores the challenges facing many American families. And we celebrate what makes our country great. A Capitol Fourth and the National Memorial Day concert honor our nation's ideals, our service members, and our veterans. Looking ahead, we will mark our nation's 250th birthday with the Landmark Initiative, headlined by a new major series from Ken Burns, The American Revolution. Our educational programming for children is one of the most important aspects of our service to the American people. I strongly believe that the programming we offer to prepare children for the future is the most essential work that we do.
I agree
Today,
with
more
that.
than half of all preschool-age children are not enrolled in pre-kindergarten programs. Our content has helped tens of millions of children prepare for success in school and in life with free programming that is available everywhere children are, on air, online, and in the classroom.
My niece and nephew love PBS.
I watched the hell out of PBS when I was a kid.
PBS
Sesame
kid.
Street, I watched the hell out of Sesame Street. And in general, it's a very positive thing.
Oh yeah, I have not had a problem with Sesame Street at all still today.
Even here's the thing, right? And this is what a lot of people, I have some conservative friends who there was some characters that they introduced to PBS that my friends were not happy about, right? I don't know. I don't watch PBS. I don't watch Sesame Street anymore, but I guess there was like, I don't know. Before I go into it, I'm not sure. All I know is there were some characters that they didn't like. Were they a trans? I have no idea. What I do know is that Sesame Street in general has tried to change through the years to reflect what kids encounter.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that. Let's face it, with all the brainwashing going on, they're probably going to come across a kid who's confused about their gender.
Very likely,
right? They got kids at the high school in another city by us that I guess use litter boxes. So that don't even get me started on that.
What?
Yeah, there are like closets where they can change into their other clothes for their other gender.
Is that in Michigan City?
It's not in Michigan City, at least not yet. But yeah.
Wow.
Anyway,
off the air, I'll ask you about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Back to this. We're going to jump ahead to 2906. And again, all of this sounds very good.
Foundation for allowing me to appear before you today.
It's from the
My name
Heritage
is Mike
Foundation.
Gonzalez. I'm a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. The views expressed are my own and should not be construed as representing any official position of the Heritage Foundation.
He didn't turn his mic on.
Before joining Heritage 16 years ago, I was a journalist for many years. I worked in Latin America, Asia, and Europe, traveled with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, was arrested in Panama, witnessed China's takeover of Hong Kong, and covered the stock market for the Wall Street Journal. I have even covered high school sports. I know that journalists can keep their prejudices in check. That is, if they want to.
If they want
ability to give all sides a hearing becomes an even more serious obligation when taxpayers are coerced to pay for you. Yet NPR, PBS, and the other state broadcasters refuse to abide by the simple code of decency.
Yeah.
For decades, they've asked for more money while telling conservatives to get lost.
Yeah.
But the nation today is in a very different place with $36 trillion in debt. And more importantly, we're seeing not just a shift in our cultural vibe, but a shift in societal paradigms. With their egregious bias, NPR and PBS have violated the public trust. Public media needs to be defunded, and the CPB needs to be dissolved. It's a matter of simple fairness. Multiple arguments can be made. I will list just a few. We're deeply in debt. Number two, the arrangement is unfair to private sector media competitors. Number three, public broadcasting was created with the promise that it would be educational.
Yeah.
But now that thousands of competitors have come online, public media has become, as George Will says, like the human appendix, vestigial and purposeless. The funding is a regressive tax, an obnoxious wealth transfer from working families to the affluent. But the ultimate factor is the broadcaster's unforgivable political bias. What we have today is a circular, undemocratic relationship. Democrats unanimously vote for more and more money for public media, and in exchange, public media heavily tips the scale in their favor. It is a nice arrangement for them, but it must end. NPR's and PBS's foolhardy embrace of progressive views and constant denigration of conservative ones is quantifiable. Thank you. I referred you to my written testimony. Besides my own examples, I cite the research of Tim Graham as well as
So he had the mic on.
I guess,
he didn't have it lined up properly. Now, just super brief rant. Have you seen the local meetings that they have on our local level that are carried on YouTube and stuff? Have you seen any of them?
Sometimes, yeah.
The audio is so bad in them. I mean, absolutely awful. Did you know we pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for that company to provide that service with absolutely trash audio? That's
wow.
Perfect example, right? National public radio type stuff, but yet a $10 microphone sounds better than the garbage they're using.
NPR veteran Yuri
Government at
Berliner,
work.
Government
who
at
says,
work,
quote,
exactly.
an open-minded spirit no longer exists within NPR. Rather than pause and reflect, NPR instead chose to circle the wagons and assassinate Berliner's character. This is part of a pattern. In 2010, NPR fired Juan Williams and vilified him as a psycho after he dared to flout the network's progressive orthodoxy. The people running NPR remain, in Mr. Williams' words, an insulated cadre of people who think they're right and who have a hard time with people who are different. They went completely off the rails when Donald Trump was elected in 2016. Coverage, quote, veered towards efforts to topple the Trump presidency, Berliner said. NPR hitched its wagon to the false claim that Russia had colluded with the Trump campaign. It also refused to cover the Hunter Biden lab story. After the 2020 riots, NPR firmly sided with those who affirmed, without a shred of evidence, that America is an oppressive society gripped by systemic racism. NPR and PBS even justified looting. Rather than use journalism as a truth-seeking tool, NPR and PBS distorted journalism to further a political agenda. Yamich Alcindor, the liberal activist that PBS hired to cover the White House, routinely used the platform to make unsubstantiated allegations against President Trump. President Biden, she presented as, quote, a moral and decent man, unquote. But consider Catherine Marr's appointment as NPR CEO. Her long record of comments leave zero doubt that she's not only a committed progressive, but someone whose disdain for free expression disqualifies her from being anywhere close to the levers of power at a media institution. And what does she think of President Trump? He's, quote, a deranged racist sociopath. Ms. Marr is an American. She's entitled to her views. The question is whether NPR is entitled to appoint her as CEO and then ask conservatives to just pony up. Public media's main argument now is that it is essential for weather emergencies in hard-to-reach places, and that without public money, local news will cease to exist.
He makes some fantastic points. I mean, ultimately, this is America. You can say whatever you want. You can tweet whatever you want. You can have whatever damn opinion you want of President Trump. But should you be at the forefront of an organization that's supposed to be nonpartisan and supposed to just present news and information, and we're paying for it? No, absolutely not. Bye. You know, one thing I want to say real brief. So did you guys see that they had all these protests this past Saturday, right? The hands off, whatever, right? Okay. You may or may not be in favor of it. Whatever. I'll say this. They did it the right way. There was no busted windows or vandalism or they even cleaned up after themselves.
Well, that's good.
That's what I'm saying. I don't care what you're protesting. I 100% support your right to do so. 100%. I may not agree with your message. I may not agree that Elon Musk and Donald Trump are the end of the world, but make your voice heard, homie. Make your voice heard. And you did it the right way. No smashing vehicles and burning shit down and acting like unemployed fools. No. They did it the right way. So good on them on that. All right. Jump ahead. I brought it up because he was talking about the 2020 riots and, you know, the mostly peaceful protests that they tried.
Fire in the background.
Right. Give me a break. Give me a break. That is not peaceful, guys. Come on. All right. So we're going to Ed Ullman.
Yep.
Okay.
From Alaska Public Radio.
Oh, yeah. I forgot we had a fourth guy. Here we go.
Ranking member, and distinguished members of the subcommittee, it is an honor to be here today. My name is Ed Ullman. I'm the president and CEO of Alaska Public Media. The people of Alaska rely on public media to provide free, universal access to essential services and public safety, education.
Yeah, because you don't want to talk about rural.
Yeah. Alaska.
Holy God, dude. And Alaska, a lot of people don't realize exactly how big Alaska is.
It's huge.
It's massive because so often, guys, we see the map, right? That map where they have Alaska as a little inset. And so it looks like it's not that big. Look at the comparative sizes of it's like twice the size of Texas. It's
huge.
Freaking huge. Absolutely massive. And there's only like a couple of cities. The rest is all little communities, independent, small villages dotted, and then a whole lot of homesteading, which are people who live off the land. It's crazy, man. I always wanted to go to Alaska. I never met up there. I've been to Canada. I've been to Mexico. I never made it to Alaska or Hawaii. I always wanted to go to Alaska.
So you've been to 48 states.
Yep. I've been to 48. So it's wild, man. I see pictures and, movies and videos from up there.
I don't think.
You don't think you'd like it? Well, nowadays, let me be clear. Nowadays, I'm too gimpy to make it out there. But when I was younger, oh, dude, that would have been amazing. Living off the land, hunting some caribou or whatever the fuck they got up there, that kind of stuff. Not now. No, I like my air conditioning and my heat way too much.
And community connections. This includes potentially life-saving alerts, updates on community affairs, coverage of state and local government, proven educational content engagement services, and local and national news. In many parts of Alaska and communities throughout the country, public media is often the only locally operated, locally controlled broadcasting service.
That's true.
We are more than nice to have. We are essential, especially in remote and rural places where commercial broadcasting cannot succeed.
I'll say this though, briefly, with new technologies, right? Satellite radio is available everywhere. You can get satellite and Starlink now. You can get really good internet in the most rural of places. So just to play devil's advocate for a moment, NPR isn't nearly as necessary as it used to be. Just saying. There are other options now. I'm not saying defund them, but I am saying there are other options.
Provide potentially life-saving warnings and alerts that are crucial for Alaskans.
Now, that I will say, local alerts, local like weather conditions, especially like local emergencies. Yeah, there's probably an argument to be made for that.
Threats ranging from extreme weather to earthquakes, landslides, and even volcanoes. Nationwide, our public television interconnection system supports the PBS Warning Alert Response Network.
Do they have volcanoes in Alaska?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Like, look that up, man, because I want to know now.
A critical pathway for the distribution of wireless energy emergency alerts to cell phones. Public television pioneered datacasting technology to enable public safety officials to communicate with each other without the need for
Do they?
They do.
What?
They have roughly 140 volcanoes.
140? How many are active?
140.
Oh, that's the holy crap, dude. 90. I had no idea Alaska had so many. What?
With about 90 being active.
90 active volcanoes in Alaska? That goes to tell you exactly how massive Alaska is, because I didn't even know.
I misread that. Let me read the whole thing.
Okay.
Alaska contains roughly 140 volcanoes and volcano fields that have been active within the last 2.6 million years.
Oh.
With about 90 have been active within the last 11,000 years and over 50 within the last 300 years.
Okay. So
about 50.
Like half about 50 of them that have recently been active. In recorded history kind of thing.
I did not know.
Right? I didn't know Alaska had volcanoes. That's
kind
crazy.
Huh? That's a little frightening.
It is. I think I want to live in Alaska a little less. just a little less.
Broadband or cell service. Safety officials to communicate with each other without the need for broadband or cell service. In partnership with the Department of Homeland Security, public television has proven how this technology can assist rural search and rescue, overwater communications, large event crowd control, and even school safety incidents. Alaskans use our services to connect to their communities and the broader world through access to local public and government affairs, agricultural news, local history and culture, as well as local and national educational content and news.
He does make some good points for why public radio / whatever, public communication is really important, whether it be radio, TV, whatever. I agree with most of those. But let's face it, national and other non-local stuff, you got Sirius XM, you got satellite radio, you got Starlink, you got
podcasts.
options. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you can access the internet,
Yeah.
podcasts are the new news.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's just how it is. All right, we're going to jump ahead to 3907 for back to Representative Green.
Recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. Ms. Marr, your public statements and social media posts reflect left-wing ideology and blatant opposition to free speech. After all, you were the head of Wikipedia for many years.
Oh, God.
Which is a platform that doesn't tell the truth.
Agreed.
Let's walk through some of your statements so the public can understand your personal views. You said your fellow Americans just elected Donald Trump as president again this past November. You called him a deranged racist and sociopath. You posted on X that America is addicted to white supremacy.
For fuck's sake.
It's appalling. You've publicly chastised using the phrase boy and girl, which you said erases the language for non-binary people.
Oh, God.
There's only 2 genders, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Marr, the federal funding that your outlet receives comes from all American taxpayer dollars, not just from your viewers who support such statements as these.
Right.
Let me inform you, and that your federal funding is also paid for by the other half of the country, the 77 million Americans who voted for President Trump, someone you called a deranged racist sociopath. Ms. Marr, many find your pro-censorship and anti-free speech views more concerning than your politics.
Mm-hmm.
The only speech you like seems to be speech that you agree with. Mm-hmm. In 2021, you called the First Amendment the #1 challenge in American journalism because it makes it hard to crack down on bad information. You said in TED Talk that our reverence for the truth might be a distraction.
Our reverence for the truth might be a distraction from what? From propaganda? Holy hell, these people are gone. That's terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying.
You've also expressed support for deplatforming individuals you view as fascist. Who do you think should be charged with cracking down on so-called bad information?
Exactly.
Is it NPR?
Right.
Is it the government? Is it you, Ms. Marr?
Congresswoman, Madam Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity to address this. I know.
Do you is it up to you and NPR to crack down on bad information or decide the truth? Answer the question, yes or no, Ms. Marr.
Absolutely not. I'm a very strong believer in free speech, and I believe that more speech.
Your public statements say otherwise. Ms. Marr, in 2021, when speaking at an Atlantic Council event, you said that when you were CEO of Wikipedia, you took a very active approach to disinformation and misinformation. During the COVID pandemic and the 2020 election, you said you censored information through conversations with government. Which governments were those, Ms. Marr? The Biden administration, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Wikipedia never censored any information.
These are your public statements, Ms. Marr. Ms. Marr, are you familiar with Section 399B of the Communications Act? It prohibits non-commercial education broadcast stations, NCEs, from airing commercials on behalf of for-profit entities. The FCC recently opened an investigation into the underwriting announcements and related policies of NPR and PBS. Does NPR air commercials for for-profit entities, Ms. Marr? Yes or no?
Madam Chair, we are in full compliance with the FCC's inquiry and will continue to cooperate.
We're in full compliance with the inquiry, not with the law. With the inquiry, she knows she's wrong. They're wrong.
Mind you, you're under oath, and violations of the Communications Act comes with a fine up to $10,000 and possibly up to a year in prison. Does PBS air?
For the love of God, start putting people who violate this shit in prison. Stop giving them tiny little fines and letting them go back to work. This, and it's not just this, in general, and this is why we have a quote, two-tier justice system, is because like you or I, $10,000 is a lot of damn money, right? It would cripple most of us to have to come up with 10 grand. People like the CEO of NPR, $10,000 is nothing to her. I'd pay that, whatever. She can figure out a tax loophole next year to get that money back. Give me a break.
For-profit commercials, Ms. Kruger?
We are underwriting announcements, and we believe we are in full compliance with the FCC, and we look forward to delivering the material required in this part of this investigation.
We look forward to that too. I'm assuming you're concerned, both of you are concerned about this, and that's why you brought so many attorneys with you today. Ms. Kruger, using taxpayer subsidies, PBS-funded independent lens to make documentaries for part of your programming. In 2016, Real Boy was aired about a trans teen navigating adolescent sobriety and the ramification of his gender identity. In 2022, the same series aired Our League, in which a trans woman comes to her old school Ohio bowling league in a story about transition. Then in 2024, A Racist Trees was aired, telling a story of how in Palm Springs, a Black neighborhood fights to remove a divisive wall of trees. Do you think PBS needs to fund ridiculous material such as this that the taxpayers are having to pay for?
These are documentary films that are point of view pieces that are part of our primetime schedule for adults.
And parents and adults don't trust that type of programming.
Right. Not at all.
Marjorie. Oh, never mind.
Let's see. Yeah, we're still going, right? No, we're good. Yeah, 45. That's what I thought. 45:05. We're going to jump ahead just a little bit.
Back to Lynch.
Oh, goody. Let me guess. You guys want to take a bet on what he's going to talk about?
So ordered.
Thank you.
Blah, blah. Here we go.
Ms. Kruger and Ms. Marr, can we talk a little bit about the educational service you provide for children of low-income families?
And look, we're going to let this play, but I agree, you agree that NPR PBS, specifically PBS really, provides quality programming for children.
They do.
For the most part. And the foundation is excellent. Sesame Street, some other programs are incredible. I remember Reading Rainbow, dude.
I remember
like
that.
There were some really good programs. We've gotten away from that though. I'm all for restoring the quality education that used to exist, but let's face it, it's been a minute.
How that is received and the trust that you've generated among families in that situation.
Yes, a significant part of our broadcast day is devoted to programming for children. We focus on preschool. That goes back to the legacy of Fred Rogers, who believed that media could be a tool to help to instruct children as well as a tool of entertainment. Our programming is focused on core skills that kids need to develop before they enter school, in math and in learning numbers and in learning letters, so that kids that don't have the opportunity to be in a formal pre-K program have a chance to walk into school for the first time on equal footing with kids that have more opportunity. And that's the heart of what we think about in the programming that we develop for kids.
Now, I know you've done independent groups have done assessments on trust, the trust factor that parents have on PBS Kids, which is one of your most popular services.
Yes.
Agree.
Can you talk about that?
Yes.
Where did you come in terms of the comparison to other stations?
Ask your question
Yeah.
already.
We are the most trusted media brand. In fact, Parents Magazine this week just ran the results of a study that was done on Daniel Tiger's neighborhood, actually looking at 16-year-olds that remember some of the basic skills they learned as small children. And what we're focused on is to make sure, again, that every child.
Okay. They talk to 16-year-olds about a program they saw when they were small children. So over a decade ago, and they're basing their trust numbers on that. That's a little concerning. Like we've all seen it's within the last less than 10 years, I'd say, has been the serious drop in quality from PBS.
True.
Has the opportunity to learn and be excited about the world around them when they enter a school for the first time, and to give them those core basic skills that we can see they carry forward in life.
Ms. Marr, I'd like you to focus on the work that public media is doing in relation to public safety communications. How important is this function of public broadcast media, particularly, I'm talking about the most rural, most remote communities in this country?
Thank you so much, Congressman. We are part of the National Next Generation Warning System, for which we received.
There is something about her that I just instantly dislike.
That's what I don't know what it is.
Do you have that? Did you have that?
I did.
I don't know if it's because she reminds me of actresses I can't stand.
That could be.
She's got a very like Nicole Kidman, Amber Heard, couple of the other ones. You know what? This face reminds me of the Disney chick. What's her name? Rachel Zegler. The one who plays Snow White.
We talked about that. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, there's something about her that's just like, oh, I don't like you. Anyway.
Received a significant investment over the course of the last few years, and many thanks to Congress for supporting that appropriation. Our stations are busy implementing that across the nation. We also are part of the the statewide emergency plans for more than 20 states. You'll see the importance and value of public radio in particular when we face extreme weather. For example, whether in Ashland, North Carolina, recently, Blue Ridge Public Radio was the only news information source available for nearly 2 weeks as people.
Okay. Again, we agree that there are certain instances where it's a positive thing, but that's not what they're talking about. We're talking about the serious shift in no longer providing a balanced viewpoint of things.
And they should.
And they should. Just like I would not, while I may not agree with what you say, I wholeheartedly will defend your ability to say it. If you want to rant and rave about Trump, knock yourself out. I support, your right to do so. But you should also let someone rant and rave about Biden or another individual in the same either time slot or the same amount of time. Like, you have to present both sides. Uh-huh. I'd rather nobody ranted on NPR, but if you're going to allow one, you got to allow the other. All right. We are now with Representative Comer,
who's actually the chair of the whole committee, of the Oversight Committee.
Okay.
Chairman Comer from Kentucky for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Ullman, I'm glad you brought up a point. It's been mentioned a couple of times already at the early start of this hearing about rural and remote.
Yeah.
And I have to tell this story. When I graduated from college with a degree in agriculture, I went back to rural Monroe County, Kentucky, and worked on a farm, my farm, for 5 years, full time.
Yeah.
Farm to this day, but full time. I was in a tractor, sometimes 10, 12, 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I listened to the radio, and the only radio station I could get that had news was public radio.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to as many hours of public radio as anyone on this panel, I can assure you. And it was a great service. That was 30 some years ago. Today, in that same remote area,
mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got Sirius XM, you've got podcasts, there's internet access now. There's a whole menu of media options now.
Yeah.
So, but over time, and I still occasionally listen to NPR because I just want to hear what they have to say.
Mm-hmm. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm. I don't even recognize the station anymore. It's
Exactly.
not
Exactly.
news. I feel like it's propaganda.
Yeah.
I feel like there's disinformation every time I listen to NPR.
Mm-hmm.
And, a media entity like MSNBC or Huffington Post that, in my opinion, consistently spews disinformation,
Mm-hmm.
they can do that. They're a private company. But NPR gets federal funds.
Bingo.
Very true.
And,
Bingo.
I have a problem with that. Because if people in Alaska, if all they have is public radio, then all they know is what these headlines say.
Yep.
And they're wrong about COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
And the headlines in the background don't have time to go over all these headlines that are wrong.
Yeah.
About Russian collusion. Wrong.
All of them.
About the Hunter Biden laptop. Wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a story about me. And part of what we went through on this committee during the Biden investigation, which, by the way, ended with Joe Biden's last act as president of the United States, pardoned his entire family preemptively for an 11-year period, which just so happened to be the 11-year period that this committee investigated the Bidens, that we had subpoenaed bank records. I don't think NPR reported about the pardons, but they reported a lot about how there was no evidence of any wrongdoing and things that just weren't true.
Correct.
In fact, there's a story, NPR, lawmaker leading Hunter Biden House investigation accused of owning a shell company. Well, that's me. Miss Mayor, are you familiar with that story that NPR wrote about me at the height of the Biden investigation when you all were disputing every aspect of our investigation that is 100% factual? We have hundreds of pages of evidence, hundreds of pages of bank records, hundreds of pages of emails. Do you remember the story that NPR wrote about me saying I had a shell company?
Congressman, I was not at NPR at the time, and I'm unfamiliar with the story.
Where do you get your sources on something like that? That's a very serious accusation because we're investigating a president and his family who had 28 shell companies. I have an LLC, had 5 properties in it. It's in my financial disclosure form. I've gone into great detail, given lots of interviews.
No,
but people that listen to NPR, they're totally disinformed on the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a problem with that because you get federal funds.
Yep.
And I do believe there was a role for public radio 30 years ago.
I think there's potentially still a role for local public radio.
Yeah.
But the point is, and this is why I think we see such a disconnect between the people that are still rabidly anti-Trump despite everything up to this point, because they get their news from NPR. And NPR used to be a trusted source. Just like, dude, CNN used to be a trusted source. And so when you get this constant barrage of anti-Trump information, disinformation, whatever, it's natural to go, he sucks. I don't see why these, brainwashed Republicans can't see it.
Maybe 20 years ago, maybe 5 years ago.
Right.
But because of technology today, I don't think there's a role for public radio anymore. And I think you've abused the privilege that you had with receiving federal funds. Because these headlines here are not true. This is disinformation on some huge topics. Do you want to dispute anything that I said in the remaining 30 seconds?
Thank you, Congressman. First of all, I want to recognize your concerns. One of the first things that I did in coming in May was to beef up our editorial standards. I directed my editor-in-chief, who, by the way,
why is NPR even doing editorials?
I'm so sorry.
Even do editorials?
I don't mean editorial in terms of opinion editorial.
Do you even need opinion? What does it matter with the opinion? If you're
accidentally telling the truth.
Federally funded entity that's supposed to provide the news.
Yeah.
Can you not provide the news?
Of course.
Fair and balanced?
Of course, Congressman. I mean editorial standards for our journalism was to beef up our editorial practices, bringing in more editors to make sure that we have more points of view reflected in every story. I've engaged in a number of actions.
And my time's expired. Concerns. I've lost confidence in public radio. I don't think, Madam Chair, they should get a penny of federal funds.
I mean, it's hard to argue with that, but like, it's a complicated subject. That's why it's easy to say we shouldn't give any more money to NPR, period, right? Or PBS, period. There's other options now, right? But for one, I want you guys look up the number one that's just on the internet, the number one kids like program that's out there. It's like, what is it? Cocoa Babies or some crap. It's awful. It is absolutely awful. So there is a role for proper, children's education. So it's a complicated issue. I'm not quite ready to jump on the team that says get rid of it all. But at the same time, yikes at some of this stuff.
All right, ready for this one? This one I did just for you.
Oh, goody. I'm so happy. What is it? Oh, God. Rep Garcia. I know this guy. I know this clown.
Just wait.
Oh, boy. Here we go. I can do it. We're good. Here we go.
Yes. So let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Now, Ms. Kerger.
Oh, here we go.
The American people want to know, is Elmo now, or has he ever been, a member of the Communist Party of the United States? A yes or no?
No.
Yeah.
Now, are you sure, Ms. Kerger? Because he's obviously red.
Well, he is a puppet, but no.
Now, that's not all. He also has a very dangerous message about sharing and helping each other.
Oh.
He's indoctrinating our kids that sharing is caring. Now, maybe he's part of a major socialist plot, and maybe that's why the chairwoman is having this hearing today. But let's talk about somebody else. Let's talk about Cookie Monster. Now, we know that Health Secretary RFK Jr. is coming out against fast food and baked goods. Are we silencing pro-cookie voters? Yes or no? Ms. Kerger?
But cookies
This is
are
some of the
sometimes
stupidest shit I've ever seen
Thank
in
you.
my
Now,
life, dude.
I
Are
agree
you
with you.
kidding
Let's
me right
also
now?
talk
Uses his time
about the
for
most
this.
important, maybe, character on Sesame Street. This is actually Big Bird. Now, Ms. Kerger, since Elon Musk actually fired USDA workers who have been working on the bird flu,
Elon Musk
does it make
didn't
sense to
fire
also
anyone.
fire Big Bird? Yes or no?
I think
What?
she's a clown.
we would like to keep Big Bird.
I completely agree with you. And now it gets even worse. Now, this is actually
Oh, my
a tweet
God.
that Big Bird actually sent out
I don't
about the
think Big Bird
COVID-19
tweets.
vaccine, encouraging folks to actually get their vaccination, which, of course, we believe in vaccines. Now, perhaps the reason why we're having this hearing is because our chairwoman, Ms. Green, has actually said some really negative things about getting vaccinations.
I wonder
and that
why.
perhaps is why we are here. And so we support Big Bird being pro-vaccine and promoting vaccines across the
Big Bird should not have a Twitter account.
No, why did Big Bird have a Twitter
Big
account?
Bird should not be tweeting anything ever. He should be on the cartoon or the show, Sesame Street. Stay there. Why is Big Bird tweeting anything? This is exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. This propaganda crap. They are trying to shove it down our throats. And whatever your opinion of medication or the big pharma, Big Bird should not be telling anybody to put anything into their body. Period.
this country. Now, I will admit, though, the extreme liberal agenda
Here we go.
that you're all pushing, I think, doesn't stop there. This, of course, is Bert and Ernie. Now, these two guys actually live together. They're friends. They're supportive of each other. Now, that might be triggering to our chairwoman and someone in this committee, and perhaps that's also
This
why
dude's a
we're here
moron.
today. Ms. Kerger, an important question. Are
He
Bert and
thinks he's
Ernie
being clever.
part of an extreme
Thinks
homosexual
he's not.
agenda?
He's not.
No.
Thank you, Ms. Kerger, and thank you for being a good sport. Now, I'm obviously using some humor here, but the
It's
fact
not
that we're
funny,
sitting here today
dude.
talking about defunding public television is actually not funny. At a time where we can't agree on basic facts, and while the free press is under attack, we need public media like PBS and NPR more than ever. A large majority of Americans say they trust PBS. And that's exactly why extremists are trying to tear it down. Public broadcasting is a tool for education, for emergencies, and a cherished part of our national fabric. We get huge benefits from a tiny federal investment. The majority and our chairwoman should drop this attempt to silence media voices they don't like. So the message, I think, today is very, very simple. If we're going to get rid
It's a
of
simple
any
message, all
puppeteers,
right.
we should get rid of the one that's actually controlling Donald Trump. Fire Elon Musk and save Elmo. And with that, I yield back.
You know, it's really fun. I just want to. I'm not going to take too long, I promise. It's really funny how these leftists say Elon controls Donald Trump and is the actual president and all this other shit, right? But yet, Biden does not remember signing half the shit he signed, and there was a literal auto pen in use by who knows who.
Uh-huh.
Who controlled Biden? That's
and they're doing
gaslighting
hearings about that.
Oh, yeah.
They find out.
Like, we got to get to the bottom of this because this is insane. All right. So, blah, 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 all the way to here. And we're now going to Representative Timmons.
I now recognize Mr. Timmons from South Carolina for 5 minutes.
South Carolina.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the witnesses for being here today. I'm going to begin by saying this. We don't want to shut down NPR PBS, but we have $36 trillion in debt.
Right.
And we have run a $1.8 trillion annual deficit, and we are scouring all government spending, not just Democrat priorities, but Republican priorities too.
Yeah.
We're going to be going through the defense budget. We're going to be making sure that we are spending our taxpayer dollars wisely because we have an existential threat. We have an existential threat. We cannot continue down this path financially.
No.
So we do not want to shut you down, but we cannot continue down this path. And so if our debt is part of the reason we're here, I think another part of the reason we're here, reevaluating your role in the government's use of taxpayer dollars to partially fund your institutions is because technology has changed everything. We are not living in 1967.
Very true.
And the internet has changed our society. We have such increased social interconnectedness.
Agreed.
And there are various options for people to get news and to get disinformation or information, whatever you want to get. So those are the two kind of reasons I want to start with. And that's probably half the problem we're here for.
Yeah.
The other half is your perceived bias and your content moderation and the manner in which you are violating journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, NPR, you have been far worse at this. Ms. Kruger, you have done a much better job at this, but we still have some issues we're going to talk about. Ms. Marr, do you think that the public statements you have made on social media create a challenge in your leadership for what should be an unbiased public information system? Do you think that your past comments, I'll give you a better question. Did they come up in your job interview? Like, do you see a problem?
Congressman, thank you for the question. No, they never came up in my job interview.
You're a rabid progressive. And do you not think it's a problem that your political leanings
that says a lot right
make it
there.
seem to the American people that you're not biased and you're not doing your job? Because you agree that your job is to have journalistic integrity, right?
Absolutely, but there is a strong firewall between the newsroom and anything that I
Let's
do.
talk about the newsroom. You have 87 registered Democrats, not a single Republican in your editor boards. I mean, how does that work?
That's a problem.
To give us the perception that you're doing your job of actually delivering unbiased information.
Exactly.
I would agree with you that number is a concern if it is accurate. I do believe that we need to have journalists who represent the full breadth of the American society so that we can report well for all Americans.
Well, I think that you are failing. I realize you've only been there for a year, but I just really think that while it is a small portion of your budget, you very much should expect to restructure your revenue streams, because I don't think that NPR is necessarily worth saving. And I'm going to go on to Ms. Kirker. I will say this.
I don't know.
You have been very professional, and you have been there for decades, and I think that you've done a fairly good job over your tenure. But I want to ask you a very simple question. In retrospect, do you think that it was inappropriate to put the drag queen on the kids show? Do you think that was a mistake?
The drag queen was actually not on any of our kids shows. The image that Chairman Taylor Greene showed was from a project that our New York City station did with the New York City Department of Education.
What time of day did it air?
It did not air. It was a digital project they did for the Department of Education.
Do you think
it only appeared on our website?
Have anything to do with PBS? Do you think that human? I mean, do you see?
It was not a PBS. It was not for PBS. It was mistakenly put it on our website by our. I'm sorry. I don't mean to talk over you. It was mistakenly put on our website by our New York City station. It was not intended for national distribution. It was immediately pulled down. It was never broadcast.
Do you think that you should publish something that calls trees racist? Is that, in retrospect, should you have published that?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
You had
Congressman.
a segment that was called Racist Trees, and it was we've already referenced it a number of times. So, do you think trees can be racist? I guess that's a good one.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of what you're referring to.
All right. Well,
but I'd be happy to look into it.
I guess do you think that it's appropriate to expose children to issues of transitioning? Do you see a problem with that? Is that something you should avoid?
That is not anything on any of our children's programs at all.
Ms. Kerger, you have done a far better job here today, and we're going to continue to have this conversation. But again, we have $36 trillion in debt, and we're trying to figure out how to make sure that our kids and our grandkids have an opportunity at the American dream, because if we don't change course financially, they won't.
Exactly. That is exactly it. And I know, especially if you're someone who relies heavily on PBS or NPR, you can look at this and be like, they're attacking Big Bird and they're coming after. We got to figure some shit out, man. $36 trillion in debt. Like, we got to cut some stuff. Okay. So freaking A. All right. Our next clip goes right into Jasmine Crockett, who some people just have this way of making you just have a very strong dislike for them. And she manages that with me. Here we go.
Thank you. I yield back. Thank
you. It's only like
I now recognize
minute and a half.
the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Crockett, for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. It should not be surprising that the president is doing everything possible to make it more difficult for the media to hold him accountable,
right?
And for the public to be informed about his reckless and illegal behavior. Yet here we are.
Okay.
The Republicans have actually organized this goofy hearing to try to convince the American people that PBS and NPR are, quote, domestic terrorists or domestic threats. My apologies. Not the incompetent, unqualified Secretary of Defense who's texting war plans to journalists.
That's not what happened.
It's y'all, PBS and NPR, the American people are supposed to be worried about. You can't make this up. It's as stupid as it sounds. The American people should be worried about the president threatening to investigate NBC for treason for reporting on his felony convictions, or arresting reporters and stripping networks of their licenses for not saying nice things about him or not using Gulf of America.
As an aside, you guys really should know that Obama actually did the things that she's saying. Just saying.
The Republicans
and the Biden administration went after a couple of reporters as well. So far, as far as I know, only the Democrat administrations have actually gone after reporters.
Yeah, Trump hasn't yet.
Trump didn't. We thought he would, especially I'm waiting on it now because they deserve that shit now. But the first term, people were like, are you going to do anything? And he didn't. This time, I think it's going to be different.
We'll see.
Witness, Mr. Gonzalez, went so far as to suggest that because NPR and PBS reported on the murder of George Floyd, they, quote, represent a danger to our physical health as well as to civic health of our body politic.
It's how it
Ms.
was
Mayor,
reported.
do you think reporting on the murder of George Floyd and highlighting instances of systemic racism is a domestic threat to America?
Thank you, Congresswoman. I believe it's our responsibility to report on all issues of interest to the American public.
Thank you so much.
That's a good answer.
Ms. Kerger, what about you?
I agree. I think it's important for us to report on the important news of the day.
So let's talk about the critical role of public.
Okay. Blah, blah, blah. All right. So our last clip, we're almost done, is Jim Jordan.
Yep.
12207. Oh, too far. Nope. Going the wrong way. It's a big hearing, guys. All right. And it's about 5 minutes or so. And it's Mr. Jordan from Ohio, right? Right next to us, waxing poetic. Here we go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Maher.
And I'll say this about Jim Jordan, because after this is over, we got to wrap it up because Shawn has previous engagements. That said, Jim Jordan says a lot of things that I agree with. He really has a knack for for just saying things in a way that just gets you pumped. His actions are lackluster, in my opinion. I haven't seen him do that much in the committees that he's been a part of, being in the House. His voting record overall is positive, I think. It is. But as far as like actively doing stuff, like at least Nunez tried, right, to do stuff. Certain people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, whether you agree or disagree with her, at least she tries to actually do things. Jim Jordan says a lot of things. But let's check in.
Who is Uri Berliner?
Who?
Mr. Berliner is a former senior editor.
Oh, okay.
That's all?
A former senior business editor for NPR.
How long do you work at NPR?
I believe he was there just over 25 years.
25 years? Award-winning journalist? Did he win any awards?
Our time to
Peabody Award? That's pretty important, isn't it?
Peabody
is
a pretty distinguished journalist, right?
Certainly.
And he wrote a long story about what you do at NPR. Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions. No.
Well, Mr.
I heard the laugh.
Berliner,
Yeah.
in his story last year wrote, in the DC area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
was award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased.
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's concerning. I mean, it wasn't 44-43.
Right.
It wasn't 60-27.
Right.
It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans.
That's
and you say
problem.
That is.
NPR is not biased.
Right.
How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. He said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate. Yes.
Those sound accurate. But then he said when the Mueller report came out and Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said, Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the
You
time.
didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you?
Right.
It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
Right.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story. And one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that was a mistake, as do I.
Yeah, the whole country knows that was a mistake. Definitely impacted the election, or I think it certainly impacted the election. How about the
it
COVID
absolutely impacted the election.
Origin story? That's a pretty big story too, right?
Huge.
Mr. Berliner said we became fervent members of the team Natural Origin, even declaring that the lab leak was debunked by scientists. Turns out, though, the lab leak is what most people think actually caused the COVID virus.
Yeah.
Sorry, is there a question there?
There is.
Speaking of, really briefly, did you see Anthony Fauci is on TV talking about how bird flu is the next COVID and how it's starting conveniently to jump from animals to people?
I have not, but that does not surprise me.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a rise in articles about the bird flu.
Yeah. Get ready, people, because they're going to try that bullshit again. It worked well the first time around, so they're going to do it again.
I don't think it'll work this time.
Oh, I don't think it'll work either. I can tell you this. You tell me, hunker down, I'm going to tell you GFY. Ain't going to happen, Captain. Not on this ship.
You guys were 0 for 3 on the three of the biggest stories in the last 5 years. You guys were 0 for 3, and yet you maintain that NPR is not biased.
Congressman, I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Nonpartisan organization. What's happening to your listeners over the last 5 years? Went up, down, or stayed the same?
It has gone up and down and is now going back up.
Well, I thought 5 years ago it was at 60 million. And you said in your opening statement, I think 43 million.
That's correct.
So 43 million now, and it was
That
at
sounds
60
like a
million
lot
5
less.
years ago. I can do some math. That looks like it went down.
Right.
And is now going back up.
It's now going back up?
Yes,
What-
it is.
million.
How much has it went back up?
It's
From
gone
what?
up a couple of millions over the past
Oh,
years.
so you went from 60 million to 41 million. Now you're back up to 43 million.
In a year's time, I'm very proud of that growth, sir.
Okay, you're proud of that growth. Okay. But over 5 years, it's went down 18 million.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Should taxpayers subsidize NPR?
I believe that taxpayers subsidize local stations, sir. That is the vast majority of what
I thought
federal
you said
funding
you got
does.
11 million from Corporation of Public Broadcasting, which is taxpayer funded directly to you, right?
That is to support the public
And then
radio
local
satellite
stations get it
system.
from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, right? They get taxpayer
100
money.
million that goes to the local
100 million goes to
stations,
local stations, and then those local stations buy back programming and content from you. So that money goes to local stations, comes back to you, gets routed through the local stations, all taxpayer money.
yes. Those fees are actually based on private donations rather than on federal funding.
Well, we all know money's fungible, so some of it gets put in there.
Oh yeah.
Certainly, we could agree that money is fungible.
What? More money for less listeners. You fired the guy who pointed all this out, who said that
Yeah.
you were so biased to the left that you lost listeners, which is exactly happening, and you're here maintaining that, oh, you need to continue to get taxpayer money.
I did
Hey,
not fire Mr. Berliner, sir.
Okay, the guy that left after all that. Understand. Are you fundraising off today's hearing?
Sir, I
Yes.
believe that there was a message that
Yes.
went out earlier today
Yes.
letting
Yep.
people know we were coming in. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and at the bottom of the message it said, "Donate now," right?
I don't recall the exact
I
language.
can show it to you right there. It is.
Uh-huh.
Donate now. I mean, I'm not against fundraising. We all do it. I mean, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's I assume this fundraising thing is probably going to all the left listeners who are subsidized content by the taxpayers, and that's
The
rub.
gentleman's time is
That's the
expired.
rub.
And I got to give it to Green. She calls time has expired, no matter which party.
Uh-huh.
Right. All right. So that's really what it comes down to. The rest of the hearing is more of the same. And it's essentially Democrats not taking it seriously or trying to make it sound like we all want Big Bird dead. And Republicans talking about the bias that exists. And I believe that is a serious issue and a serious question that needs
Yep.
to be answered. Are we going to continue to pay for what amounts to propaganda to our American citizens with taxpayer funds? I don't see why we should.
I think it's still needed public broadcasting.
Well, that's
I
the
wish
question, right?
I wish they were more fair.
There's the rub, right? If they can restore balance, I'm all for public broadcasting, dude. All for it. If balance can be restored.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands right now, it's not.
It's not.
Not even close. As he pointed out, the three major stories that they all got wrong.
Yeah.
All right,
Those are
guys.
3 big stories.
Those are huge. Absolutely huge. All right, guys. I hope you found this useful. I again would like to express my appreciation for you going through and picking the timestamps out here. You guys saved over an hour, even with me rattling on. So you still got the gist of it. Guys, I really hope that we provide a service to you. If we do, I appreciate, I can't stand people who do this, but nonetheless, I got to click that like button, hit the subscribe. It really does help. I've been shadow banned ever since I started this channel because I'm the wrong political leaning for them at YouTube. So anything else you want to leave us with?
Just that the next show, I think we're going to do the activist judges.
Yeah, that one's going to be interesting.
Republicans are going to investigate activist judges.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It is.
We see it all. We're supposed to have a system that's equal justice under the law. That's just how it was set up by the founders. That's how it should be. And we are seeing not only a soft on crime approach by leftist judges, But we're also seeing where they are literally changing the laws in order to make it possible to prosecute people they don't like.
And one judge can put an injunction in and completely stop a president.
Exactly. How was that? That's not how this system was designed.
No.
The Supreme Court, absolutely. The Supreme Court absolutely has the power to give an injunction, to reverse a policy, to rule something unconstitutional. That's what they're there for. But Bob Smith from LaPorte County can't stop the president of the United States. It's ridiculous to even think that they can.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
A lower court judge can do that.
Right. It's nuts. It just and they're talking about making them turn planes around and bring people back who shouldn't even be here in the first place, but whatever. All right, guys, we'll see you again soon. I hope you have a great night. And without further ado, God bless you, God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America. Hope you have a wonderful night. See you soon.